Welcome to Mind Lab Secrets. Today we are talking about apes. They can use tools. They can learn from each other. They recognize individuals. They form families. And some can communicate using gestures and sounds. But these aren't humans. They're our closest living relatives. Gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos, and orangutans. Together, they are known as the Great Apes. And the more scientists study them, the more complicated their world becomes. What makes an ape an ape? First, what actually makes an ape different from a monkey? One of the easiest differences is surprisingly simple. Apes don't have external tails. They also tend to have larger, more complex brains and highly flexible shoulders and arms. But there's something even more important. Their intelligence isn't just about individual animals. Great apes can learn from one another. They can use objects as tools. They can remember locations. And they have complex social relationships. Orangutans, for example, are highly adapted to life in the trees, with extremely long arms. Gorillas have enormous strength. Chimpanzees are highly social and opportunistic. And bonobos have developed one of the most unusual social systems among primates. 4 species, 4 very different ways of living. The orangutan. High in the forests of Borneo and Sumatra lives an ape that has taken tree life to an extreme. Its name literally means person of the forest. And watching one move through the canopy makes it easy to understand why. Its arms are incredibly long. Its hands and feet are adapted for gripping branches. And instead of moving quickly from tree to tree, orangutans often move carefully, distributing their weight across the branches. But there's another unusual feature. Unlike chimpanzees and gorillas, orangutans are relatively solitary. Females usually spend years raising their young. And that relationship is extremely important. Young orangutans can remain dependent on their mothers for 6 or 7 years. That's a remarkably long childhood. And it gives them time to learn something crucial: how to survive in the forest. The gorilla. Now travel from the trees of Southeast Asia to the forests of Africa. Here lives the largest of the great apes, the gorilla. An adult male can weigh well over 150 kilograms. And yet, despite their enormous size and strength, gorillas are generally peaceful animals. They live in family groups led by an adult male known as a silverback. The silverback protects the group, helps maintain social order, and can defend the family when necessary. But gorilla society isn't just about the strongest individual. Young gorillas spend years watching and learning from the adults around them. They play, they explore, they imitate, and they develop the skills they'll eventually need as adults. In other words, even one of the strongest animals in the forest begins life as a curious child. Chimpanzees. But when it comes to tool use, chimpanzees are among the most fascinating great apes. Chimpanzees have been observed using sticks to extract termites. They can use stones to crack open nuts. And different communities can have different behaviors. This is particularly interesting because it suggests that some chimpanzee behaviors are not simply instinct. They can be learned. A young chimpanzee watches an adult. It experiments, it makes mistakes, and eventually it learns. This means knowledge can pass from one generation to another. And that's beginning to sound surprisingly familiar, because humans do exactly the same thing. We don't just inherit genes, we inherit knowledge. Bonobos. And then there are bonobos. They're closely related to chimpanzees, but their societies can look very different. Bonobos live in highly social groups. Relationships between individuals are extremely important. Females play particularly important roles within their communities, and cooperation can help maintain social bonds. This makes bonobos fascinating to scientists studying the evolution of human social behavior. Because when we look at bonobos, we don't see a simple hierarchy of one animal dominating all the others. We see alliances, friendships, conflict, reconciliation, and cooperation. Their society is complicated, and that's exactly what makes it so interesting. How close are they to us? So how close are these animals to us? Very close. Humans, chimpanzees, and bonobos share a common ancestor that lived roughly 6 to 8 million years ago. That doesn't mean humans evolved from modern chimpanzees. Instead, we and chimpanzees followed different evolutionary paths from an older common ancestor. And the similarities between us go far beyond DNA. We share complex social behavior. We use tools. We learn from others. We care for our young for years. And we can form relationships that last for decades. When you watch a chimpanzee looking at you, you're not looking at a distant cousin. You're looking at a member of the same evolutionary family.